Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to St Barts. We are here today in the Britain Norman Islander. We're going to check out the new driver from NVIDIA 555.85. So let's get right to it. Let's go external power supply on, rotating beacon on, mixtures and props full forward, master and battery switches on, fuel pumps on, fuel valves open. Starter hood covered. Take a look outside. Make sure there's nobody out there to kill or maim. Go number 1. Mag on the right hand side. Back the throttles. Oil pressure is good. Mags to both. Go number 1 mag here in the left engine. Props clear. Good start. Oil pressure is good. Mags to both. Close the starter hood cover. Fuel pumps coming off. Check fuel pressure. Fuel pressure is looking good. Lean the mixtures for taxi. Avionics master is coming on. Nav and strobe lights coming on. External power supply coming off. So we've got a whole bunch of really interesting stuff coming up for the channel. Some stuff I can't tell you about, but it is very, very exciting. Altimeter 1015. So I did the full process on this driver update. I cleared out all the caches. I went into safe mode, cleared out all the caches. I don't think there is a GL cache anymore, but the DX cache. Computer caches the works. Toes on the brakes. Release the parking brake. Test the brakes. Brakes are working. And what else did I do? Cleared the caches. Cleared the computer cache. Did the disk cleanup thing. Oh, you know what? I've got all players enabled probably because I was streaming recently, and this guy is probably on a different scenery because he is floating in the air. So we'll just kind of ignore that. I'll sneak under and around, as it were. Let's go flaps to takeoff. We'll go fuel pumps back on. Get myself adjusted in my seat here. So this is the payware scenery for St Barts. I'm using all payware sceneries for this. I'm not using a frames per second indication because I don't care, and I'll get into that more as we go. Actually, I'm going to do an entire video on that at some point here. Alright, heading indicator checks with the runway number. Mixtures and props full forward. Fuel pumps are on. Flaps are set. Landing light coming on. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments in the green. Release the brakes. I should have come a little bit those up with the trim. Still do that on the roll. There's 70 knots. And let's go commit aviation. Off the end of the runway, left hand turn to a heading of 060. Bring the power back to 25. Props back to 25. Drop the nose just a little bit, and we will bring the flaps up. So, make a left-hand turn here, kind of a wide turn. Using REX weather because I watched the webcam from Princess Juliana every day. And Princess Juliana is right over the other side of the end of that island up there, St. Martin. And I don't quite understand what it is, but sometimes live weather works just fine, and sometimes it does not. And you know, it's good to know your expected performance. Instead of putting my flaps up, I put my flaps down. I'm sitting there wondering why at 7.5 degrees nose up, I am not climbing. And going at 75 knots. So there's 7.5 degrees nose up. Let's get that trimmed. 1,000 feet AGL, we'll turn our fuel pumps off, check our fuel pressures. Fuel pressures are looking fine. Little bit of rudder trim here. And, yeah, 1,500 will do it for our purposes today. So we'll come back on the manifold pressure, come back to the props a little bit, nose it over, and trim out the control pressures. And we'll see what we get here. So this is my very, very first flight with this driver. I turned the sim on and let it run for a little while before I got in the plane, just so I could, just so it could build up the caches a little bit. But I mean, this driver is literally as smooth as can be so far. So I guess I'll do my rant on frames per second. I did a video recently about stress testing Sim Update 15, right? We're gonna get Sim Update 15 in another 2 days. And for those of you who watch my channel on a regular basis, you'll know I don't do FPS tests. FPS tests don't tell me anything except what my FPS is, and that number doesn't make me happy. I understand the interest in it. I do. If you're getting an extremely low number, if you're getting, you know, if you've got hardware that should be capable of, you know, giving you good performance in the sim, and you're not getting it, you know, you're getting, you know, 12 to 15 frames per second, yeah, that's an issue, and you should definitely look into what's causing that. But beyond a certain limit, and I'm beyond it, I just don't care. I just don't care. And I just don't understand the obsession with something that's good enough. You know, like I said, I understand if you're having a problem, you know, an obvious problem where you're, you know, your sim is not operating smoothly because you're not getting enough performance. But is it going to make any difference to me right now if I turn the frame counter on and it tells me 55 versus if it told me 35? No, it's not going to make any difference to me. I think one of the big things that plays into that is the frame gen mod and also auto FPS as well. Those things are worth talking about. But I think outside of performance anomalies that hinder your enjoyment of the sim, I don't understand the obsession the ongoing obsession with frame rates. But I'll tell you another thing. I had somebody comment on one of my videos. Let me take a look outside real quick here. So that's worse. The ghosting right here is worse. Oh, the trailing edge of the thing. You can see it. I had somebody comment on a video of mine that they had, sometimes I'll get comments that aren't directly related to that specific video, but the person is, reaching out because they've had something happen and they want to, discuss it. And so they'll put a comment to a video. I had one guy who had a triple 4K monitor. I think there were 3 4K TVs and several, like at least one smaller monitor, and then some tablets for maps or other apps or FMC or whatever it was. And he had the entire thing running perfectly well and was completely happy with it. Made one change and blew the entire thing up and could not get it back to what he had. And that's kind of a cautionary tale. And I'm not suggesting that that's a common issue or something that you would expect. Of course it's not. But it is a cautionary tale, that if you are, I just think good enough is good enough sometimes. I truly do. Bring the manifold pressure back to 19. I'm going to bring the props back to 21. Fuel pumps on. So I'm going to, we'll see here in a little bit if that trailing edge ghosting continues as we use this this driver here a little bit. We're going to stop here in Grand Cass. We'll do touch and go out of Grand Cass, and we'll head around to Juliana, and then we'll come over here and land in Anguilla. And I had a couple folks that were not happy with the length of my last driver video. Apparently, I don't know. Everybody likes the information. Nobody likes to actually watch the video, which is fine. You can see some of the ghosting there on the VSI. Although I have to say the ghosting on the VSI needle looks less to me than it did with the last driver. Is very, very little. And that's the interesting thing. I've mentioned this before. I think there are times when ghosting can vary day by day. I really think that it does. And it can also vary. It was really pretty bad off that trailing edge. Now it looks a little better. We'll see. There is a nice left base. Let's get ourselves slowed down here into flap range. Into the white arc. Alright, fuel pumps are on. a little bit more overcast than it actually is here today. There's the white arc. Go full flaps. Fuel pumps are on, flaps are set. Mixtures and props forward. A little bit high, so we're just gonna trim it out right about 80 knots here. It's a pretty lazy turn in, wasn't it? Yes, it was, and I overshot. Myself trimmed out at 80 here. Just a little bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little low. This is not a. This is not the approach profile that you're going to want to watch and try and match. I was pretty poor actually. My mind is a little bit mixed up right now because I see you're flat. Because I'm trying to reteach myself some things about landing airplanes well. And breaking old habits is hard. And it's hard to instill new habits that are good. Alright, flaps are set to takeoff. Takeoff power coming in. It's hard to 70 knots. 7.5 degrees goes up. It's hard to. What I'm trying to do, I've been so used to flying speeds the whole time, and I really haven't been paying a heck of a lot of attention to my attitude. And now I'm trying to get back to attitude flying when appropriate, rather than just flying at airspeeds all the time. But here's the thing. See 1000 PAG, I will turn the fuel pumps off, fuel pressures are good. You should fly speeds on departure and approach. But when you're in other phases of flight, you should fly attitudes. And I'm just my brain is just a little bit mixed up in terms of what I'm trying to be doing when. So we'll get it squared away. It's basically when you start trying to fine tune your technique, and then you realize some parts of it need to be broken down a little bit. Anyway, let's see on that vertical speed indicator, just a tiny bit of ghosting. Not too bad. Alright. So head over to Juliana. That's a nice complex airport, complex scenery. This whole thing on the spinner is from the frame gen mod, so that's nothing to do with driver. I have to say the visuals are very, very good. Extremely smooth. I haven't had a single hiccup of any kind. Just watching that nose come back down. Alright, fuel pumps are off, flaps are up. And now, for straight and level flight, what instruments are we using? Level, we're using the altimeter. Straight, we're using the heading indicator. Easy to get into bad habits flying. Let's see again that ghosting there. So, there is Grand Cas. We'll come right out here along the peninsula, the edge of the peninsula here. What I had been doing is I'm trying to fly straight and level, which, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. It's such a basic skill, right? But what are you monitoring? What are you adjusting? And I realized I've been paying attention to the supporting instruments and not the primary instrument, particularly for level, which is the altimeter. I mean, duh. You're trying to maintain an altitude. What instrument is going to give you that information? Obviously the altimeter. But if you set, if you get yourself straight and level and you set your pitch attitude, you know what your pitch attitude is. And for some airplanes, it's going to be, maybe a dot, half a dot above the horizon, maybe half below. Depends on the airplane, depends on the configuration, depends on, if you're in the pattern, if you're approaching an airport and you're level for, a couple miles as you're, making your way towards an airport, whatever. But what I realized was I'd been spending so much time focused on airspeed and vertical speed, neither of which are primary for what I was trying to do. And so I've gone back and I'm re-teaching myself, or I guess re-emphasizing what I need to be monitoring for whichever phase of flight I'm in. And like re-teaching my brain what I'm supposed to be looking at. And in a lot of ways I'm making it too complicated because, VFR flying, even in this airplane that's a twin, it's not a very fast one. It's not a complex airplane. It doesn't have a retractable gear. So I try to keep things as simple as I can with flying. And like in particular with, an approach like this, visual approach, all I'm really trying to do, pull some power out. I don't touch anything else. I haven't touched a single thing other than pulling power out. And that's going to start the descent, and that's also going to bleed off some of the energy that you have, which you can then pull your nose up, like I'm doing now, bleed off some speed, get into the flap range, add some drag, etc. So, I mean, in some ways I'm trying to fix things that don't require fixing. But at the same time, I also want to be a good pilot. See, right now, we're quite happy. 1,000 feet. Good left base. And we'll pull some more power out. Maintain level of flight. It's going to bleed off some more energy. Start turning in, white arc, full flaps, and now what I'm looking for is 80 knots, and I want to trim for 80 knots. I want to trim hands off for 80 knots. I don't need any control pressure. Sometimes I like having a little bit of control pressure so that I can release it if need be. Never, ever, ever push the nose of the airplane down. Alright, 80 knots. Now, 2 white, 2 red. This should be the simplest approach on the face of the planet from here on out. It should be just a matter of managing the descent with power. Alright, mixtures of props forward, fuel pumps are on, flaps are set. 2 white, 2 red. 80 knots pegged. I can see already that I'm getting a tiny bit higher. The wind is from 130. Pull out a little bit of power here. I'm going to get 3 whites pretty soon. There it is. 3 whites is the most I want. And this is the other mistake I've been making. If you're high, pull out a little bit of power, but you have to push the nose down to keep your airspeed up. If you just pull out power and sit there waiting for your problem to be solved, it might get worse before it gets better. So if you're high, pull out some power and push the nose down. That was the element I had been missing. Wind's out of 130, so it's, I mean, nothing particularly tricky, but much happier with this approach. Remember, those Pappies are for the biggest airplane that lands here, which is like the 747 and A330. So those Pappies aren't for me in a little Islander. Alright, mixtures of props forward, a little bit of nose forward on the trim. Let's wait till those flaps come. Turn the fuel pumps on. Wait till the flaps get up to takeoff range. Takeoff power coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine switches are in green. Airspeed's alive. There's 70 knots. Let's go flying again. So, and let's not hit any mountain. How about that for a plan? Water masking was awesome. Performance is great. Alright. We'll head over this way. 1,000 feet will be our altitude for the flight to Anguilla. Alright, there we go. And full pressure back. Pops back just a little bit. Pull fuel pumps off. See the ghosting on the altimeter needle right there. Make a gross trim adjustment, which is a approximation of what you're trying to get, and then we wait and we fine tune. So I just made an approximate trim adjustment, and then we'll wait and see what the plane settles into. Flaps are up, fuel pumps are off, and it's going to come up just a little bit, so a little bit more nose down trim, and we should be good. Rendezvous Bay out in front of us here on Anguilla. Take a look here. It doesn't look quite as bad as it did before. It's also different angles, you don't see it. So, ghosting is kind of strange that way. In my opinion, anyway. And yeah, I mean, this is just, I would say this is actually smoother than the last one. The last one, every like maybe twice a flight, if I did like a half-hour flight like this, bombing around on the Islander, I would get maybe a little hesitation once or twice. Not approach, not anything like that. But just in kind of cruise flight. So we'll start slowing us down here. 17. Drops back to 21. Head for sandy ground. Give us a good little turn on the final here. Golf course at what used to be Cuisinart, which is now can't remember. What's it called now? Not much of a tour guide, am I? So, coming here over sandy ground. I'm gonna be, right over here in about 3 months, which is gonna be great. We're coming back more here. Few pumps coming on. I think the realistic turbulence is kind of chilled out a little bit too. It used to be, I thought it was really strong last time I tried it, and I hadn't tried it in quite a while. And I tried it again recently, and I kind of like it now. Alright, 80 knots, because usually coming right through here it would just get wacky turbulent. And now it's got some turbulence, but I don't think it's overdone anymore. So I don't know if they've made some adjustments to it, or if it's just general physics adjustments in the sim. Yeah, I need to get that airspeed down just a little bit here. Alright, we'll go props full forward. Fuel pumps are on, flaps are set. See, like, this feels alive, but it feels good. It was really good, actually. Bring some power out now. That feels nice. Now we can start slowing down. How do you slow down an airplane? Pull out some power, pull the nose up. That will do it. Alright. Alright. Oh, that was not good at all. Oy, oy, oy. Flared just a bit too late. Ah, that's alright. Alright, we'll leave the mixture. Mixtures are the only things I touch on the runway. No matter what airplane I'm in. Wait until you get off the runway before you start horsing around with things. Keep your attention outside the airplane. And now we're clear of the runway, landing lights coming off. Mixtures are lean, bring the flaps up. Fuel pumps off. Alright. Good day of flying. I have done that circuit, or a variation on that circuit, so many times in this sim. And I never, ever get tired of it. I just never get tired of it. Alright. Brakes are set, mixtures to idle cutoff, throttles are idle. Parking brake is set, lights coming off. Avionics master coming off, flaps are up. Turn the mags off. Master and battery switches off. Let's get our boarding steps and our chocks out. Let's open our doors. Everything is looking good. So here we are, home sweet home in Anguilla. And the verdict on the, I mean, it's even like rotating around like this. Sorry to make you guys sick, but even rotating like this, very, very smooth. I mean, absolutely not a single tiny, minuscule little hesitation of any kind on this flight. A little bit of ghosting on the trailing edge of the wings, as you saw there for a little bit. Whatever. That's not gonna keep me up at night. I know it drives some people bonkers, you know, but that to me is something that is more. I can understand more being interested in whether there's any ghosting than I can being interested in whether you're gonna get 4 more frames per second. I read all the time in different forums, like, oh, I was getting 42, now I'm getting 46. Okay, great. What does that mean? Not much. So, the verdict on the driver's good. I still see people with, 537 dot whatever. You know, I would encourage people to give newer drivers a try. But up to you guys. I just wanted to give you the demo, and there you have it. I hope everybody's having a good day, and we'll talk soon.